I've had a desire to move out of Santa Barbara and move out to LA, Los Angeles, because I could be more in tune with everything, more in tune with friends, family. I'll be closer to a lot of things. I can go to more games, and I can get into sports. And in LA, people really like sports in LA. Here in Santa Barbara, sports is kind of like the thing that you kind of get into it, but most people just don't care. They like the Lakers. There's a lot of Laker fans up here, a lot of Dodger fans up here. 49ers fans the 49ers are huge in this town. But sports is not that big a deal here, and it's kind of sad. I remember reading one time on Dodger Thoughts, a guy was trying to watch one of the playoff games at a pizzeria here in town. Now, I want to know what pizzeria this is. I've been to all of them. I really want to know, because I'm going to go over to that owner and tear him a new one about this. But he wanted to watch the game, and the pizzeria instead showed a rerun of 2.5 Men. 2.5 Men rerun. That's sad. That really is. I mean, it's like they wouldn't let the guy watch the Dodgers playoff game. How often do the Dodgers make the playoffs anyway? I mean, yeah, we've had a recent run of success, but how often do they make the playoffs? Hardly ever. Maybe one out of every 3 to 5 years. And the poor guy's just trying to watch the game and have a pizza, and the guy's like, nope, we're going to put on 2.5 Men instead. From like 3 years ago. Man, I just want to... I don't want to clock the guy in the head because I know that he makes good pizza, I would imagine. But that's pathetic. It really is. How could you deny a guy to watch an important playoff game from a local team at a pizzeria because of an episode of something that already happened? Buy the DVDs. If it's that big a deal. You're a pizzeria! Pizzerias show sports on the TV. The TV isn't there so you can sample episodes of Lost or Sex and the City. Kind of missing the point of a pizzeria. Every other pizzeria I've ever been to in my entire life has shown some semblance of sports. Even if there's no sports on, they show something. They'll show like Outside the Lines or Before the Bigs, some show like that. They'll show sports, extreme sports, any kind of sport. The sport's got to be on there somehow. So that really annoyed me when I read that story on Dodger Thoughts. I just couldn't believe it. But that just pretty much shows you what Santa Barbara's all about. And that extends not just to the pizzerias or some of the other upscale restaurants here, but it also extended to my place of employment during the day, UCSB. UCSB is a great campus. It's got a great, thriving student community, a lot going on, great activities, and it's really a place where people can really express themselves, and I appreciate that very much. But there's two things that I always noticed since I've worked there for about 4 years. And one, the lack of diversity, and there've been such strong efforts to try to increase that, but it's just not taken. The only black dudes I've ever seen around this campus are guys that are on the basketball team or maybe some artists or something like that. But other than that, it's just been kind of basic. I haven't really seen a ton of diversity. It's there. It certainly is. There's a lot of goodness there, but it's kind of like very sparse, and so it's really kind of vanilla. And there's nothing wrong with that, honestly. By the way, I'm not saying that this is bad necessarily, but I'm just pointing out that it isn't the kind of diversity that you would really have hope for in what we consider a universally known school that should be known worldwide, certainly for lots of things. And yes, the partying is part of it, but that's just part of what I kind of started to recognize as part of a global thing with Santa Barbara, which I thought was just this whole thing of being isolated. It's really kind of a city in a bubble. And it's kind of a literal statement, because there's about at least 20 to 30 miles between it and Ventura, and another 30 to 40 miles between it and the next available big community, which would be Solvang, I think, and then that's not even that big of a community, really. It's kind of just shows you how really it's in a world of its own, and it kind of acts like it. And so I've been kind of thinking about moving on to something bigger, something more cosmopolitan, where there's a little more culture, a little more going on, a little more in tune with sports. And that's going. I'm sorry for skipping that, but yeah, the thing about UCSB and sports is that there's just no commitment to the sports program. They have a new athletic director. He's trying his hardest to try to assemble some very good athletic programs at UCSB, and they have a couple. Their soccer programs are very good. Their swimming program is strong. Their water polo program is growing. But, you know, is there a real commitment from the UCSB and the Gauchos to really invest in their sports? And to be honest with you, the answer is no. I mean, I don't see any kind of team pride. And, I mean, I don't see people, like, in the big game, like, let's say it was a soccer game, because UCSB's best sport is soccer. They really get into it. They won the national championship in '06. Let's say that they were playing a big soccer game against their big rival, Cal Poly. I think that would get some press, but let's say they were playing another big rival, like Long Beach State or somebody like that. Or they were playing Stanford, any of these guys. They'll get some audience for that. But then you look into the basketball program, and you see the basketball program made a big run to the Big West tournament. We've covered this on the show. But do you see like this whole cloud or this whole air of momentum towards these games? Do you see people walking around the office, people walking around campus going, "Hey, how about the big game tonight?" You get none of that. And I think a big problem about the Gauchos athletic program is that the university as a whole kind of looks at sports as an annoyance. Like, they don't really care about the sports. The chancellor's office and all the regents. See, I can say this now. I'm leaving the university, so I can say this all I want. But just be honest here. Nobody in the upper levels of UCSB's chancellor group or the regents or any of those guys care about their sports. They're not giving it the 100% support. They're not promoting the sports. They're not really giving people a big ups on the sports. They're not really putting big old flyers in the paper. And they're just not doing a good enough job of trying to foster community within sports, within athletics. There's no desire, and there doesn't seem to be, from the UCSB uppers to try and get a team spirit in that campus. And if that's just the nature of the campus, okay, fine. But they're not even really giving it an effort, and I think that's my problem. The athletic director is fine, but I'm talking about the other people, the people above him, the upper management of UCSB. I just don't see any commitment from them with the athletics program, and that's a shame, because if they committed a little bit, now I know they don't get a lot of money like UCLA does. I know they're not USC, where they have like tons and tons of donors, and I know they're not Stanford and Cal, who, of course, have an amazing connection to their Bay Area residents and their fans, and there's a huge amount of pride with both programs, even if they're not really that good in some of the bigger sports. But there's tremendous team pride with either of those two schools up north, and I just don't see that with UCSB, and that's a problem. And you can't just say, well, but they're so big and they're world renowned and they got all the money. Well, how do you compare somebody like LMU, or how do you compare somebody like the Anteaters down south of UCI? And Cal Poly probably has a pretty big spirit. So you can't give me that. You can't give me that. They're a state school, Cal Poly is, and they have a better team pride, team spirit than the Gauchos do. That's just fact. Okay, they're on the beach. Pepperdine's on the beach too. You tell me that Pepperdine doesn't have a decent... Well, it's probably about the same, I guess. Pepperdine and their commitment to their sports. But they have a lot of pretty good programs over there at Pepperdine. Baseball program's pretty good. And see, that's not a convenient excuse. And then look at Cal State Fullerton. They got nothing. And they have fostered this amazing baseball program, the best in the country. Always a factor in the College World Series. They've won a few. And they have this tremendous stadium. And they are just one of the biggest baseball powerhouses in college sports. So UCSB has a ways to go. Now, they've done a good job with their soccer programs. I mentioned that. And again, I mentioned swimming, and I mentioned those guys. But the difference, I think, is that I don't see an effort to really really support, put themselves behind the UCSB programs. And when I say that, I'm talking about the chancellor's office and those guys. And I just think that's a shame. And then it's within their right not to do so, or not to do whatever. But every time I see any kind of action from the bigger, higher ups at UCSB, it's always let's turn down the noise kind of an announcement. They're trying to implement these policies to tone down partying. Are you freaking kidding me? UCSB built itself as a party school. That is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. Oh, but the residents will complain. Well, these same residents need to understand that's where all their money's coming from. If UCSB burned to the ground tomorrow, the economy in Santa Barbara would collapse. There would be no economy. There'd be no money, no anything. So all these 50-year-olds and 60-year-olds who are living the high life off retirement and wondering where all the money comes in to fund this place. You need to look at UCSB and give them a little more respect. And give them a little allowance. Let people be free. I mean, the stupid tortilla thing was one thing. Okay, fine, I understand it delays the game. But some of these things are just ridiculous. And the thing with Floatopia, everyone complains about Floatopia. And, it's just... The environmental aspect of Floatopia is certainly an issue. But I'm not necessarily even talking about that. I'm talking about other things that kind of break itself down into it. I mean, the way I'm seeing it from the regents, from everybody, from the city council here in town, it's as if they don't want this university to act like a university. And I don't think that's right. I think they need to just lay these people a little break, for goodness sake. Let them grow up, for goodness sake. Stop sheltering these kids. Honest to God. I mean, it just really annoys the hell out of me. So, that's just part of it. And so I was kind of seeing that that's part of it. And then there are other personal issues at work, too, where I was undergoing. But I think it wasn't really so much the people I worked with specifically, but the overall aim of the upper management at the company I was at. So I won't say any names, but when I say upper man, I mean like the very top. So my immediate supervisor in my section, in a joining section, we were okay. I mean, we had our differences certainly, but I didn't think that was as big a deal as the overall direction of my particular unit, my office, and that's been a problem for a while. So I've been trying to just get a fresh start. And not only that, but I was losing all my friends. All my friends who I had made here moved out. They moved north or they moved south or they moved somewhere else. And it was getting frustrating after a while. I got to a point where I just quit making friends. And I didn't really start making friends again until I started doing some work at KCSB, and then I made some friends, people who went there, other people there at the station. So, but outside of that, it's really hard to really get any kind of friends here or relationships of any sort because the whole population is transient. So that had been frustrating me for quite a few years, and that's a big reason why I was considering a move out of the area. And naturally, I figured LA would be perfect because, number one, it's so close to Staples Center. I mean, that's just awesome. Being able to go to more Laker games and more Dodger games, that by itself intrigued me so much. And it's a place where people have been through it all. They're not isolated, so they understand. There's a little bit, not a lot. Because we do know that there's a few guys that are a little stuck up there, especially in the west side of Los Angeles. But still, but you have people who've been through, come from other places, and so they've certainly been around the block, and so that's useful. And the other thing about LA I enjoy a lot is that its proximity to a lot of places, the airport, and to the ease of getting to, like, let's say Arizona or Las Vegas. That really appealed to me a lot. It really opens up the door to other trips to other places. And finally, I'm just closer to a lot of friends and family, and I'm going to be able to visit more people, more friends. We'll get to do more things, and these great movie theaters out there in Hollywood are awesome. And I'll be in close proximity to a lot of things. It'll just be a good fit, and I always feel more at home in Los Angeles anyway. So the bottom line is I've received a new job offer from UCLA. I have accepted the offer. I will be moving to LA officially in I would say 2 weekends from now. So I'll be officially moved there about the 25th of July.